They didn't just silence him, they erased him. One moment, a masked figure stalked the shadows backstage. The next, he was laid out cold, blood pooling under the flickering lights, his identity still a secret. And by the end of the night, the so-called mystery attacker was gone forever. No music, no dramatic announcement, no heroic save, just brutality. And if you think this was random, you're not paying attention. Tonight, we're diving deep into the most savage, cold-blooded backstage assault in the history of WWE SmackDown. The night the mystery attacker met an end so violent, so personal, that it shook the locker room to its core. But before we go any further, I need you to answer this in the comments. If someone hides behind a mask and attacks from the shadows, do they deserve sympathy when the tables turn? Think about that. Because what happened backstage wasn't just revenge. It was a message. For weeks, the locker room had been on edge. Cameras would glitch. Lights would flicker. Footsteps echoed through empty corridors. And then, boom. Another superstar blindsided. Another stretcher. Another career hanging in the balance. No pattern. No warning. Just chaos. The attacker never spoke. Never claimed responsibility. Never appeared in the ring. He thrived in the shadows. Security footage caught glimpses, a hooded silhouette, black gloves, boots that seemed oddly familiar. But every time management tried to increase security, the attacker adapted.
How?
That's the first question nobody is asking loudly enough. Was this an outsider? Or was this someone who knew the backstage layout better than anyone? Let me ask you something simple. If you were planning a series of backstage assaults, would you risk getting lost in the maze of corridors? Or would you already know every shortcut? Exactly. This wasn't random. This was calculated. And then came the night, everything spiraled out of control. The show had barely started when tension filled the air. You could see it in the performers' eyes. Nobody was joking around. Nobody was relaxed. Even the veterans, the ones who've seen it all, looked uneasy. Midway through the broadcast, a camera cut to the backstage area. A loud crash echoed. Production crates scattered across the floor. A body lying motionless. But this time, it wasn't one of the usual victims. It was him, the mystery attacker, mask still on, chest barely moving. The camera operator hesitated, almost like they weren't supposed to show this. And that's when we saw it. A steel pipe, bent, covered in red. Whoever did this didn't just fight back. They hunted him. Now pause for a second. Do you think this was self-defense or premeditated revenge? Because the difference matters. Medical staff rushed in. But here's the part that should chill you. No one from the locker room came to check on him. Not one. Not even out of curiosity. It was like the entire roster had silently agreed. He had it coming. That kind of silence? That's more terrifying than any scream. And here's something even darker. The attacker had been targeting specific individuals. Rising stars. Championship contenders. People on the verge of momentum. What if this wasn't about chaos? What if it was about control? Crippling potential threats before they reach the top. And if that's true, then who benefited the most from those attacks?
Drop a name in the comments right now.
Who gained the most while others were taken out? Because when you follow the trail of opportunity, you get closer to the truth. Backstage reports later confirmed the unthinkable. The injuries were catastrophic. Blunt force trauma. Internal bleeding. Multiple fractures. The mystery attacker didn't just lose the fight. He lost his life. Read that again. The hunter became the victim. The shadow became the headline. But here's where it gets twisted. His identity was never revealed on screen. No dramatic unmasking. No shocking "it was me all along." Just gone. And that silence? It's louder than any reveal could have been. Why hide who he was? Was the truth too damaging? Was it someone the audience loved? Or worse, was it someone we never suspected because they were standing in plain sight the entire time? Think about every segment. Every suspicious glance. Every oddly timed absence. Now let me ask you this. If the mystery attacker's identity had been exposed, Do you think it would have changed how fans saw their favorite superstar forever? Because sometimes the real horror isn't the attack. It's the betrayal. Let's talk about the brutality itself. This wasn't a quick scuffle. This wasn't a single strike in panic. The scene showed signs of struggle. Walls dented. Equipment smashed. Handprints on concrete. That kind of damage doesn't happen in seconds. It happens when someone unleashes weeks, maybe months, of rage. Whoever delivered that beating didn't just want to stop him. They wanted to end him. And that brings up a darker possibility. What if the attacker knew who was coming? What if he walked into that ambush thinking he was about to strike again, only to realize he was the one being tracked? Imagine the fear in that moment. The realization that someone had studied your movements, predicted your pattern, turned your own tactics against you. Poetic, but terrifying. There's something else nobody is talking about. The cameras. For weeks, security couldn't catch the attacker clearly. But the night he was taken down, crystal clear footage. Perfect angle. Perfect lighting. No interference. Coincidence? Or staged? Was this entire mystery engineered to lead to this exact ending? If so, who had the power to orchestrate that? Management? A rival faction? A mastermind pulling strings from the top? Here's a trivial one for you. What's more dangerous, a lone attacker or someone smart enough to manipulate everyone into thinking there was one? Think carefully before you answer. Because perception is everything. The locker room changed after that night. You could feel it in the weeks that followed. No more random attacks. No more flickering lights. But also, no celebration. No relief. Just tension. Like everyone knew something the audience didn't. And that's what makes this story unforgettable. It ended too cleanly. Too quietly. In professional wrestling, nothing ends without a reveal.
So, why did this?
Unless it's not over. Let that sink in. What if the mystery attacker wasn't working alone? What if he was just the visible piece? And when he fell, the real architect stayed hidden. The perfect crime isn't one where no one gets hurt. It's one where the wrong person takes the blame. Or in this case,
The fall.
imagine months from now, another attack. Different style. Different method. And suddenly we realize the brutality backstage wasn't justice. It was a cover-up. Now tell me, if the attack started again next week, would you be shocked? Or would you say you saw it coming? There's a psychological layer to this that's impossible to ignore. The mystery attacker operated in darkness. Silent. Patient. Calculating. The person who destroyed him? Explosive. Ruthless. Overwhelming. Two opposite mentalities colliding backstage. Predator versus apex predator. And only one walked away. But here's the haunting part. Violence like that changes you. Even if it was revenge. Even if it was justified. Taking someone to that level? It leaves scars. So, if we ever discover who delivered that beating, will they be the hero? Or the next villain? Because sometimes crossing the line doesn't just end a threat. It creates a new one. Let's zoom out. Why did this storyline grip everyone? That moment would have been explosive. So, why deny the audience that payoff? Unless the reveal was too risky, too controversial, or too real. Because sometimes, protecting an image is more important than delivering a twist. The most brutal part of this entire saga isn't the blood. It isn't the broken bones. It's the unanswered questions.
Who was he?
Why those targets? Who ended him? And was it truly justice? You've watched this far for a reason. Because something about this doesn't sit right. And deep down, you know it. So, here's my final question to you. If the mystery attacker had survived, would you have wanted redemption for him? Or did he deserve exactly what he got? Sound off below. Share this with someone who swears they know the truth. Because until we get answers, this remains one of the darkest, most brutal backstage stories ever told. And remember, in the shadows of SmackDown, not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to warn you. Watch your back. Because the next time the lights flicker, it might not be fiction.